Hey team, welcome to another episode of the Rugby League Lounge weekly show. And today I'm joined by Hayden from the Entertainhouse. How are you today, my friend?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Back from Magic Round, refreshed, almost back to work. But for now, let's talk some footy.
Yeah, that's what I had you on for, on here for, I should say. Look, I can't get my words out. Anyway, we're going to talk about Magic Round, and because Hayden was there. Hayden, overall Magic Round, how was your weekend, buddy?
Fantastic experience. Not only I attended Magic Round back in 2019, and to compare the two, it was a lot better. I had a little clip that's included in my intro on my YouTube channel, which basically shows all the fans in their team's jerseys walking around, which looks so surreal. And I wonder what it would look like this time if there'd be less people, if there were more. And honestly, I think there was more. I think it was a fantastic weekend where I got to meet lots of content creators like me. I met up with League of Inches. I met up with Warriors NRL Fanatics. Alpha, who's a fantastic YouTuber. He really is making the scene his own at the moment with some funny videos. And then also Nick from Australia, who makes some good content. I hung out with him at the Magic Round. It was a really good experience. There were some blowout games, which were a little bit disappointing, but we all saw the draw as non-favourable towards a lot of teams. We can kind of tell the difference between the top half teams and the bottom. However, I'll speak about it later, but I think the Dragons are a little bit different to what we expected going into the season, especially their first half performance against the Storm. But the Magic players definitely stood up. There are a lot of players out for the Magic Round, and I was a little bit worried that we'd miss that X factor, but there was a lot of players that stood up and made the game their own, and I think I've got one pretty much for each game. But overall, it was a really good experience, and I can't wait to do it again. And I think it was a lot better in 2019 because my Parramatta Eels did not lose by 54 points. So that was really, really nice this time around.
Yes, that would have been a good change of tune. So, hey, we'll get straight into your first day there, which is the Thursday. So, I'm guessing you went to every game or most games. I'm assuming. Do you go to every game?
Yeah, I went to every game. So it started on Friday actually.
That's
Thursday,
right.
I was
Yeah.
at Thursday. Funny story. Thursday, I was at Movie World and Top Golf. I actually was at Top Golf 45 minutes before the Gold Coast Titans arrived. So my session ended, and then I went on my Instagram and I saw that the Gold Coast Titans were actually at the event. So at Top Golf. So that was a bit disappointing. An opportunity to meet the Titans, hit some balls with them would have been cool. But that was the Thursday. Moving on to the Friday, you had the West Tigers and the Knights, which was a bit of a nothing game for me, but I did tip the West Tigers. I thought that with all these talks around them being, if there was a relegation thing kind of brought in, they'd probably be removed as a club and labelled as a failure. I thought their heads would have been screwed on for this game. It's a little bit disappointing that the Tigers could not get up for Tommy Rodonigus. They had two opportunities in regards to farewells
Mm.
of Tommy Rodonigus, one at Leichhardt, one at Campbelltown, and they weren't great performances for the most part. But in this game, they turned up, they played some good footy. My standout player, one definitely to remember from Magic Round, and in my video, which I did the best players for the season so far, I think he just continued his form in the centres, even though I think he's a natural 5'8", was Adam Dewey from the West Tigers. Adam Dewey really steered this team around the park. Luke Brooks is a good half. No, he's not. To be honest, he's not. But he had a good game. He had a good game. He'll take confidence out of that. But Adam Dewey is just a standout week in, week out. As for the Knights, I know they got a win last week against the Raiders, but they also lost to the Roosters 38-4. So this is a team that I had highly rated coming into the year. There's too much injuries for mine, and I think we saw at Magic Round that the Knights could be in for a long year as they were flogged by the West Tigers on Friday night.
Yeah, I think you touched on probably the key takeaway for me, even before the game started, was seeing Doohy shift to centre. And I thought, like, what? Like, he's been your best player all year, but hey, he's still got the three Dally M's. Luke Brooks had his best game all season. I saw you kind of pull back on that he's a good half because at the end of the day, like, he is one halfback of the year. That shouldn't say, like, I still think, take that what it is. He's got the makings of a good half. There's reasons there was comparisons to Joe Johns, but you get to, what he's in his, I think he debuted 2013. So he's been about his 8th season. Win is enough with him. He hasn't made finals footy since debuting, but if this is the formula to get the best out of him, having Dewey at centre, I'm not too sure, because I think Dewey needs to get the ball in his hands. But it worked out on Friday, but it was against the Knights. So would have that worked against anyone else? Probably the test will be, this weekend and the upcoming season. Also was touched on, you talked about probably, we had some stars of the game, and I think there's 3 standout kind of players in the game now that are kind of contending for the top 3 players in the game, and that would be Tommy Turbo, who we'll touch on now. How is it like seeing Tommy Turbo do his thing in the flesh?
Absolutely fantastic. I'll be seeing it again on Sunday. Hopefully not too bad, because they take on my Parramatta Eels. So Turbo, have a little mercy, please. But no, he was fantastic to watch in the flesh. This whole Manly side, I want to make a video eventually. I keep saying I will, but I haven't found the time at the moment. They're just a resurgent side. This is a team that 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, we were saying is destined for a wooden spoon for the first time in their club's history. They're now sitting in 7th position, not just because Tommy Turbo's come back, but the whole team's working together. Another player that Tommy Turbo relies on a lot is Jason Saab. He's a huge part of that team, and watching him on the wing and his attack and his line break for Manly was huge. I thought DCE was a little bit quieter than he has been in recent games, but he still was quite involved. I was expecting Brisbane to complete with Manly. I think I had a scoreline of 28 points to 16. And obviously it was 50 points to 6. Brisbane's defence was awful. They probably competed for about 15 minutes, Brisbane, and then they just went to sleep and let in plenty of tries. I don't think you can entirely blame Brisbane, though. I think a lot of calls, including, I can't remember if it was penalties or 6 again, but one of the 2 was going Manly's way a lot. And we obviously saw on Friday night for the first time these new rules, and 4 Brisbane Broncos players put on report for what was classified as now a head-high tackle. So I was a little bit disappointed with Brisbane for mine. I thought they hadn't been playing too bad, even though they were thrashed by the Eels. I thought they were okay in that game. They were good against Penrith. They've got a win. They just lost to the Cowboys, who put in a great performance. And for them to come up at home, Magic Round, really disappointing for Brisbane fans, but wasn't a great game of footy, to be honest.
No, it's, like you mentioned at the top, there was some blowouts, and that was definitely one of them. But one of the closest was the closest game of the round, was the next game on the Saturday, was the Raiders Bulldogs. And you were touching on kind of the, the enforcement of the reinforcement of the not new rules, but, cracking down on the rules and the harsh penalties. Just overall, was this game the kind of point for you where you're like, oh crap, this is actually, this is happening, like there's something, this is really affecting, how the game's being played, and the decisions that are being made by the referees is really impacting the result?
No, I think I felt that on Friday night. Obviously, Saturday we saw the first proper send-off, but for me, I felt that on Friday night, watching 6 sin bins across 2 games, or maybe even more. As a joke on Nick from Australia's vlog, I said, what's there going to be, 14? Turns out I counted the sin bins. There was 14 across the weekend.
Yeah.
That was me just being a smart ass as a joke. But it turns out that this is what's going to happen. And I think Saturday, yes, was a sense of in the send-off, but in regards to the rule changes, they really did feel real on Friday. They didn't feel as real watching the West Tigers and the Knights. Going into that Manly game, watching all the Broncos go to the bin, though, and the softness. The Jordan Ricky has gotten 2 weeks for a shot that was not even, it was nothing. I'm not going to get into it, but there was nothing in it at all. But then you've got Josh Papali, probably leans with the shoulder. It's probably a sin bin. I don't think it's a send-off. We've seen worse from all weekend. And I'm not saying that he deserved to be put in the bin, but there was also shots from 2, one of them Felice Kafusi, I can't remember the other one, Melbourne Storm, and they were not picked up on. So the thing is, we need to be completely consistent about it as well. That's my issue. There needs to be a level of consistency, and teams can't be favoured. But as for the Bulldogs and the Raiders game itself, it was an okay game of footy. It was close for the most part. The Raiders still struggle to capitalised second halves. They got the W in the end, but only just. I thought Nick Meaney was absolutely outstanding. I've been saying for a long time that how is Nick Meaney going to be in a Bulldogs team with Jake Averillo, Matt Burton, Kyle Flanagan, and Josh Adokar next year? But if he's not going to be in this team, then he definitely deserves to be with another club because he's a fantastic player and it's one of the best games I've seen him play in a long time. But Raiders got the W in the end, but it's going to come at a cost. They're going to be without three of their biggest stars for about 5 weeks.
Yeah, and that's also another thing that's going to be, more stars missing time now. And I always have been a strong kind of person in the stands of when it comes to final footies, we have to be a bit more lenient on, the suspensions because, you play a 24-round comp, 26-round comp, and then you pay, let's say, like it's basically another comp, but only 4 rounds in the finals. But missing 1 week in the finals footy is more costly than missing 1 week in regular season. So it's going to be really interesting to see if the players are able to kind of adapt and work on the be better disciplined by then. But yeah, it was an interesting game for the Raiders. How do you think they'll, do you think this is kind of the win they need? It's really, it's good that they were able to overcome the 12-man deficit and, overcome the they were losing as well, but it was against the Bulldogs nonetheless. So do you think this is kind of going to get the green machine back and running or?
No, I think as I mentioned, with all those players out, it's come at a cost, and I think that's going to affect the Raiders more than ever. I don't know how Josh Papali is going to play his best footy, being told that he won't be selected in the Origin side because of this. So Origin's in 3 weeks. He has a 3-week suspension, and so for that reason, he won't be playing Origin this year, which is a huge loss for the Maroons, in my opinion, a big hole in our side. But the Raiders definitely need to get a win on the board. It's important for them to get a win on the board. They've got the Melbourne Storm this week at GIO, and I don't know if you've seen my tips, but I have tipped Melbourne to score 40 once again. And I think Melbourne will win 40 points to 14. However, I don't think the Raiders will miss the top 8. I feel like if I was to put the Raiders out of the 8 right now, I would have to put the Sea Eagles and the Warriors as the 2 teams that would be taking the Canberra Raiders' place. However, I still think they'll make the 8. I can't see them finishing any lower than 10th. And in some sense, this will probably help the players. But the thing is, not all the players that were there for that win are going to be playing this week.
Yeah, great point. And how about the next game, which was the Rabbitohs Sharks? Probably, does the scoreline really reflect on the result in this one? For me, it probably doesn't. The Sharks were a lot more competitive than what the scoreline says.
I think the Sharks were probably arguably the better team in the second half. You could almost say the whole game, but then again, they were down 20-6 at halftime. It was a very good fight from Cronulla. I really was unimpressed with South. I've been saying that, Souths have been winning games. They were on a 7-game win streak, but they don't look anything special to me. They've put in some good performances, don't get me wrong. They've kicked the first 2-point field goal of the season. They've won a game in Golden Point. They're definitely a competitive side, but they just haven't stepped up for me in regards to that X factor of a powerhouse team that people describe them as. And I think I saw that in this side. They're obviously missing Latrell Mitchell, but the Sharks have lost 5 straight games in a row. Now make that 6. And they've got a big test this week in the St. George Illawarra Dragons, who they're going to be without all their players, but they're still in the top 8. As for this game, I'll be honest, I didn't get to watch the full thing. I was there watching it, but a lot of fans were coming up to meet me. This was the one game across the weekend that I chose to kind of do a meet and greet. Trevor from Shut the Gates also came up during that one. Brody Stefanski, who is the kid who was on the screen in 2018 in a Bulldogs jersey, screaming at the TV. He came up. He was involved in the vlog. I didn't get to watch too much, but I definitely think from what I saw and what I could see in front of me, the Sharks were a very resurgent side. And what's with Marini Hiroti scoring in the final minutes of games? He's been doing it a few times this season. He's a sneaky little winger.
Yeah, actually, that's a trend that I have actually been noticing. Yeah, he's I don't mind them actually because I remember what game was it? He shouldn't say he bombed the try, but it was Sean Johnson's first game back. And he missed. Oh, it's against the
Against
Bulldogs.
it was against the Bulldogs because I was at that game and he ruined my multi. Anyway, I'm not one to speak about players ruining the multis, but yes, he did. He did that game. But then he won me and again. I backed him the following week against the Storm and he scored in the final minute. So he's done it 2 or 3 times this season. And as you said, sometimes he's bombed them.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next game because I'll tell you what, the next game was fantastic to be at. The
Game of the round?
atmosphere for I think so. I feel like you could have argued that the Dragons and the Storm could have been the game of the round, but it was ruined by the second half. I want to speak about Roosters and Cowboys. The atmosphere for Jason Taumalolo's 200th was absolutely brilliant. I know he didn't win the game, but people were really getting behind such a fantastic player. There was a really big Cowboys crowd. I obviously did a Roosters giveaway, which was a Roosters wallet. So I had a Roosters fan who was quite excited about that one and quite excited with the win. I don't know if the score completely reflects, to be honest. I think this game was a lot closer. I tipped the Roosters by 2 and argued they could have won the game by about 2, but the Cowboys for about 15 minutes, they took the foot off the pedal. They look like a competitive side. I don't think there was a point in the game where the Cowboys led. I could be mistaken. So I guess the Roosters were on top all game. But it was a quality game of football. And Sam Walker and Scott Drinkwater was a fantastic battle to watch. The forward packs were outstanding. It was a really quality game, this one. I think it was probably the highlight of Magic Round in regards to team performances.
So that might have answered probably the question I'm going to ask, but in terms of support towards a certain team, what fan base was kind of one Magic Round, do you reckon, overall?
Para was up there. The Eels were definitely up there. No, the Eels were definitely up there.
Yeah.
I don't think Brisbane had as much support as I would have expected to. I was actually quite shocked. I'm just trying to have a good think about this one, honestly. I feel like it would probably be between Parramatta and the Cowboys. But then again, you had a lot of random South people.
As you do.
There are a lot of Canterbury fans as well. Canterbury turned up in their numbers. And the team I was shocked that I saw a lot of. And you know what? If you're at Magic Round, let me know if you disagree. The Dragons were damn close. The Dragons turned up in their numbers. And I'm not talking when it was their day to play. Everywhere I looked, around me, the other side of the stadium, the left, the right, the bloody train station, there were Dragons. There were Dragons in the streets while I was getting a kebab. The Dragons came to Magic Round.
They were there.
I'm gonna say Dragons.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they were there to see Tyrell Fumiano get sent off, but we'll touch on that now. That game, and it's interesting. So in the obviously you would have heard of the commentary. We're talking about how the Storm have been unsettled in the past when the other team spreads the ball, and obviously the Dragons were finding a bit of success. But then why do we, if they find the success, we don't see teams do it all the time. So what did you see from that first half? Is that why you believe the Dragons were kind of causing a few issues for the Storm early on?
Well, that first half, undoubtedly, without a doubt, was probably, and if this is the full game, one of the best halves of football I've watched in a long time. Like a long time. It was the best game of Magic Round. Because of that half for me, I would argue that it was the most enjoyable. The Dragons lost Matt Duffy. They also lost Fuimianu for a high shot. It was really dirty. I can't believe I said to Nick and Emily, my partner, on Friday night that Fuimianu will be sim-binned. And I should have said it at the start of the vlog because he's a player good player, good young player, but coming into the centres instead of being in the back row, I thought he'd get fatigued and do something bad, and obviously very deliberate. So I hope Ryan Pappenhausen is okay. But both the Melbourne Storm and the St. George Illawarra Dragons created a really close quality contest, which I thought was going to go potentially in the Dragons' favour. However, I did think the Melbourne Storm would win by about 8 points. I had them winning by 7 originally. I had 17 points to 10. So looking back at that, it's a really funny scoreline. But the Dragons, for mine, they haven't been great. but they have not been what we expected them to be. We all had them as wooden spooners, written them off. Oh, Cameron McInnes is gone. They're nothing. And they're only just in the top 8, but they're still sitting in the top 8. And they probably will be there again this week, because I believe if they lose to the Sharks, they will still sit in 8th position, which is just crazy that they're still there. But they've been a very resilient side, kind of like the Sea Eagles, but definitely not as good. But for their players to be injured and go down and lose so much of their back line and still be down by 4 to a Melbourne Storm side that's scoring an average of 40 per game, I was really impressed with the Dragons in the first half. As for the second, no. But like the Broncos, I think a lot of calls went against the Dragons, and even no calls at all. I was talking about that Felice Kafusi shot that I think I didn't include a photo of it, but I did a little Sin City and NRL Magic Round review where I spoke about calls that weren't picked up, and that was one of them. But Melbourne were too good in the end. It came down to the Dragons' defense. I'm worried about the Dragons this week. I have tipped them, spoiler alert, but I'm worried about Cody Ramsey at fullback under a high ball. He's a fantastic player. Don't get me wrong. I love watching him. I just don't know how he's going to go under that high ball. So I can't have faith with the Dragons to remain in the top 8, but good on them for being there right now. And it was a really good contest on Sunday afternoon, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like, they've been the surprise packet for me. And it'll be interesting to see if they stay in the 8 or if they fall out. But yeah, looking ahead of next week, I'm the same. I'm not too sure who I'm tipping. Currently, I think I've got Dragons, and then without even looking at the team sheets, I did that and was wondering why are they not favourites? And light bulb moment, they're missing a few key players, to say the least. So yeah, I guess that kicks us off to the final game, where I had a feeling that something special was going to happen for the Panthers Titans. I made a prediction that Brian To'o would break the meter eating record for a game. I think Clint Gutherson got it last year, about 369, I think. And but I think he probably had his lowest meter eating game of the season. But instead, Nathan Cleary steps up to break, I believe, fantasy records and Supercoach records. So thoughts on that game, man? Seeing Nathan Cleary at it. What's your biggest takeaway from that?
Oh, well, if you want to go the fantasy side of things, I'm a big super coach. I really enjoy my super coach. I've had Nathan Cleary for quite a while now, and I was predicted to score a final score of, I think, I'm just checking now, actually, I was trying to get it up. I think I was 991 as my predicted score. I can't find it for some reason, but anyway, 991 was my predicted score. I think Nathan Cleary averages around that 97 mark. However, Nathan Cleary scored 225, I believe. And you have a league where you verse a random person in the Supercoach, and I was predicted to lose by 200. I actually ended up winning my league just because of Nathan Cleary by 180. So it was a miraculous comeback from me. As for the game itself, I wanted to get this up to show you and get your opinion. Obviously, 2 months ago, I tipped the Gold Coast Titans to be the first team to defeat the Penrith Panthers. However, when I knew David Fafita was out, I couldn't not tip the Panthers. And so technically speaking, I did go 8 from 8 for the first time in my career last week. Technically got 8 from 8, picked that Tigers upset, picked the rest of the round. But because I tipped the Titans 2 months back, everybody is saying, and you'll probably say in the comments, you'll have people saying, no, he didn't. He didn't tip 8 of 8. He tipped the Titans, which, yes, I did. I supported the Titans. I did a Titans giveaway as well. Got the mascot to chuck a handball in the crowd. Penrith Panthers will be very disappointed with their second half. I'll tell you that much. Their second half was not great. Yeah, they scored some tries, but they also let the Titan attack run over them. And something that they've done is contain attack from teams throughout the season. And I think they conceded 1 or 2 tries in the second half. Was it 1 or 2? Might have been 2. I think they were down. It was 2, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I can't remember exactly how they scored them, but I think it was 2 in the second half. Yeah.
I think they'll be a little bit disappointed. I met most of the Panthers after the game. I couldn't do a vlog chat, but had a little chat, and Nathan Cleary was just happy with the way that he played his football. He's happy with his season so far. The Panthers were great to meet, man. I'll show you this as well. This was this
There you
was at
go.
the airport. That was at the airport.
Right. That's awesome,
So
man.
lunch with the Penrith Panthers was outstanding. Cleary signed my club hero card. Very humble player, and this Panthers outfit just looks better and better. Liam Martin did a great job in the shoes of Kurt Capewell. I really rate Liam Martin as a player, in my opinion, but Penrith are just too good, and I don't think they can beat. I don't think South Sydney can beat them. I don't. I really don't.
So who would you? Because I obviously they've been kind of labeling three teams as the title contenders, and the Panthers, Storm, and the Rabbitohs. I'm not saying the Rabbitohs aren't title contenders, but for me, it's Storm and Panthers are that top tier. Do you believe that as well, or do you think the Panthers are even above the Storm?
I think the Panthers are above the Storm right now.
Mm.
And I would have, I'd personally, not being biased here, I'd have Parramatta above the Rabbitohs just. I think the Rabbitohs, Parramatta hasn't lost the game 50-0. Parramatta have pretty much won most of their games for the most part this season. Rabbitohs have been great, don't get me wrong, and I think by the end of the season, the Rabbitohs will leapfrog us. I've got us finishing in fourth and the Rabbitohs in third, but right now, I think Parramatta is at another level, something I haven't seen. I think it's all been to do with the way that we've bought Isaiah Papali'i, Bryce Cartwright. It's going to be a huge test for us this week against the Sea Eagles, who put in a great performance against Penrith and arguably could have gotten the win there at, where was it? Was it Bathurst or Wagga Wagga? I think it might have been Wagga Wagga. And then I can't wait for Eels and Panthers in about 3 weeks. That's going to be a huge game.
So I'm sure you'll be there for that one.
I'd like to. It's not 100%. It is a 7:50 game at Penrith. So, look, it is something I'd like to do. It all depends on work, though. I'll probably definitely stream it, though. I'll definitely be at round 25 when the Panthers take on the Eels at Bankwest. I haven't been to Penrith in 2 years, so I would really like to get down, but I can't actually NA this one. It's too late to kind of NA it, and with Magic Round, I wasn't going to sacrifice it.
Yeah, no issues, man. Hey, we'll almost finish up, but I just want to, you kind of touched on before some of the moments that you had, at the round meeting players, and you've got some content that you've got out and probably give more content you're getting out as well, or you've posted or your vlogs and that so far.
So I've done the 5 vlogs. The first one was the Sea Eagles and the Broncos. That features Nick from Australia and always Brisbane Bronco. I was supporting the Brisbane Broncos, technically the home team for that one, but the Sea Eagles got the home sheds. It's funny to say. Second vlog was the Bulldogs and the Canberra Raiders. Got behind the Bulldogs for the first time, even though I have a soft spot for the Raiders. I got behind the Doggies just because, Our third vlog was the Cowboys and the Roosters. I got behind the Cowboys. So all the teams I got behind, besides my Eels, obviously, lost. I'm on a trend of getting behind teams that lose. I got behind the Sharks against the Bulldogs a couple of weeks ago. Got behind the Dragons against the Roosters. So if I get behind your team, guys, start to get a little bit worried. I'm trying to think. I'm looking at, and I said in my tips I wasn't going. So this is a little preview for everyone. I may be doing a vlog on Friday night for the West Tigers versus the New Zealand Warriors. It depends how my Friday night goes, but there's a good chance that I will be at that game. Even if I don't vlog it, I'll be there. I'll do a review, because something I've started doing recently is kind of reviewing games as well. I've done a couple of those videos. I put out a video today, which is, I think, a really interesting one. I'd like to see you do something similar if you'd like, which is basically the best player, in my opinion, from each team so far. I thought that was something different, and obviously the Panthers are on their own level. So who for you is going to be the team to beat Penrith? I want to ask you that.
So obviously you got the Bunnies this weekend, and I don't see them winning. Honestly, I'd have to look at the schedule, and I know they versus the Storm again later in the season, but it's quite a long time, honestly. And they're bound to pick up a loss somewhere. But look, off the top of my head, that's the only game I can really think of, though. Like
Can they lose to Parramatta in 3 weeks at home?
Parramatta will probably be that game where maybe they tip up, but if I had to predict now, I would say Penrith will beat them, and I think they'll get up for those games where they're where people are kind of thinking this will be the game they fall off. So honestly, it will either be a game where we just don't completely expect it, or be a storm.
Well, that's what I'm about to announce here. I'm going to announce it first. I'll
Here we
speak
go.
about it more in my videos, but I'd like to take this opportunity. Obviously, I said the Titans would be that team, so I was wrong there. Hopefully, I'm right here. And I want to speak about Origin because I think that Brian To'o might get the call up. Nathan Cleary might get the call up. And Matt Burton, he's a great player, but I just don't know if he can step up in the halves against the likes of Sean Johnson being back. I'm tipping the Cronulla Sharks to defeat the Penrith Panthers in round 14. Penrith's first loss is 4 weeks away. They will go 13 and 0. Can you see it?
Yeah, I think Epi will step up, mate. I think Epi and James Fisher-Harris will obviously that's 4 rounds from now, isn't it?
4 rounds from now, yeah.
They'll be, mark my words, they'll get the Dally points for them and steer them home. Epi and James Fisher-Harris, mate, I believe. Burden will be solid too. So now I like your thinking. The logic behind it's quite well thought out. And obviously the Sharks, even though they've only had about 2 wins this season, they've had an interesting season with coaches. They've definitely got the talent to kind of pull it together, especially if the likes of Wade Graham aren't playing Origin. But I like the thinking, but I can't support it. I'm sorry, mate.
I support it. There's got to be a team to knock them off. There's got to be a team that's going to knock off the Panthers.
Yeah, surely. I just don't see it. I like your thinking, but nah. We'll finish off with basically your favorite moment for Magic Round, mate. Like in terms of just like one of your interactions with the players or something that just like obviously you probably won't forget the round anytime soon, that's for sure. But if there's one moment in particular where you thought like that was pretty wicked, like anything stick out, or was it just the whole weekend in general?
Meeting players. I met Brad Fittler. I met Darren Lockyer, players I've wanted to meet for absolutely years and years. I've met JT before, but I got a bit more time with him. I think for me, it was Angus Crichton basically recognizing me.
I've seen that.
Yeah, so Angus Crichton took a photo. I said, "How does this win feel tonight? How does this win feel tonight now that you're kind of under strength?" And he said, "It feels heaps good, mate. Thank you for coming out." And as soon as I stopped filming, he kind of pointed at me and he gave me a smile. And I was like, does he know who I am? Like, I don't know if you watch Entertainhouse, Angus, but I felt like for me, that was like, oh, this is something that is really picking up. Because I know players like Josh Papali, like Shandor Earl really get around the Entertainhouse content. A few of the Eels players as well. But at the same time, I just didn't know if the recognition was out there for those bigger teams. And for a team like the Sydney Roosters to potentially know what I'm producing is really nice feeling. So for me, I think that was the highlight of Magic Round. Also met the likes of Billy Slater.
Oh, jealous.
Jealous?
Favorite player of all time.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw this as well. One of my goals for the year is to get, so they've got these kind of club hero cards.
Yeah.
These particular shiny club hero cards. Now, my goal for the end of the year is to get these signed by the players that I kind of look up to. And at Magic Round, I did get Harry Grant. So Harry Grant signed his Tigers Rookie of the Year card. Currently, also got Nathan Cleary. And then obviously met him at the airport the next day. So didn't even need to do it at the game. Had Taumalolo and Sean Johnson. So Ponga's going to be a hard one. I did get a message from Jake Averillo, so he's happy to sign, which is really exciting. But yeah, I think that's a highlight for me as well, getting my cards signed because they're players that I really look up to. And I think they are exactly what they're described as, club heroes, players that make big contribution to their club.
Yeah. I was going to finish up, but I'm just interested about the Jake Averillo one. Is there any reason in particular that you look up to Jake Averillo?
Oh, not in the sense of looking up to him as a player, but I think he's definitely been great for the Bulldogs in recent season, and he's got his own card. And I tagged him in a little thing, and he reacted and said, "See you at a game soon to sign it." And so it's very exciting, and hopefully I can get him on the channel because I want to speak about how he's adapted as a player, how he feels about. Obviously, I mentioned the Bulldogs. There's a lot of players next season that I just don't know where they're going to fit in with all these new signings of Flanagan, of Burton, Addo Carr. There's just so much to like about Canterbury next year, and it's going to be interesting to see where Jake Averillo and Nick Meaney come in. But I think he's having a good season as well, young Averillo.
I don't know his best position, but and then obviously look at it, you think, yep, you've got they signed Corey Allen look to be their fullback. Obviously, he hasn't had a great start. Kyle Flanagan, you got Burton there, so that's kind of the roles he's been filling in, and you've obviously got the outside backs positions, but you got Kochik at a car. So I think he's going to be one that's going to be interesting. But I really like Averillo, and I can see him potentially. Honestly, I wouldn't mind him at fullback. I think maybe you give him license to roam around. That might be his best position. So, yeah, if Corey Allen doesn't, hit the perceived heights that the Bulldogs were wishing, then Averillo will do wonders there, I believe. So, hey, we'll finish up there. And, mate, really appreciate you coming on. I know you're feeling a little bit under the weather, and I almost, piked on you too because I'm feeling a bit shattered myself. But really appreciate it, mate. I think everyone appreciates your content. It's not just you don't just do enough tune up the games. You're providing content for all of us. So I really look forward to checking all that stuff out and looking, watching more of your content in the future, mate. And obviously you'll be back on sometime soon, hopefully. And keep doing what you're doing, mate. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate it. I promise I'll get this video out regarding the resurgence of the Sea Eagles. It's a video that people like yourself really want put out in my content. So I'll have to chuck that up soon because they've been such a good side this year.
Yeah, no, wicked, man. And you brought up a good idea about best players from each club. So it'll be something that I'll be looking into the mid-season points coming. But I'm sure I'll get content like out there. Obviously, looking for more ideas the better. So yeah. Anyway, guys, hope you guys have a good week and enjoy the footy coming up. Catch you next week, team.